I got her.
You're doing great, Tony.
Woo!
I'll meet you at the trailer.
Ah! We're back. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate every one of you, especially those of you that went to fsmgarage.com and bought our new t-shirts, because not only are they great, they'll keep you from being naked, which keep you from getting tickets and possibly going to jail. So it's more like a public service we're doing here. This time around, we're doing science, which I'm really excited about. Doesn't matter the fact that we're working on a boat. Just focus on the science. So even if you're not a boat person, maybe you'll get something from this, because for once in our lives, we have data. And if we're smart enough to interpret the data, maybe we can go faster, or better yet, keep the Big Block Chevy living. All right, so let's start with what we're doing here. We have been boat racing. We have been successful. We have won. We have used our brand new Racepak data acquisition system to tune the engine. And it is a carbureted Big Block Chevy, a really big one, 632 cubic inches with a tunnel ram and dual Gen 3 Holley Dominator carburetors on top. Very, very adjustable, very tunable. I love them. Now, when we were racing, we were using O2 sensors, one mounted in each collector of our headers, to tell us essentially the air-fuel ratio of the engine, how much unburnt oxygen and fuel was in the exhaust. And what we saw was that the right side of the engine, if you're looking from up top down, which is the even number cylinders, 2, 4, 6, 8, was very lean. And the left side of the engine, cylinders 1, 3, 5, 7, were very rich. So we made some carb adjustments at the racetrack, picked up some mile an hour, and actually won the event, which was great. Now that we're back home, I'm questioning some of the things we did. Because, as you know, if your O2 sensor is mounted in your collector, you're reading an average of all these cylinders and how they're running, not each individual cylinder. And I like to treat each individual cylinder as its own engine. And if you can make all of them perform similarly or efficiently, you should make more power, you should go faster. So today, we're gonna put O2 sensors in every primary tube of our headers, and then we're gonna go make some rips on the lake, tune the carbs some more, and see, can we get the air-fuel ratio of every cylinder closer together? Because ultimately, we're putting nitrous on this thing. And before I do that, I want to make sure the engine is as happy and healthy as it can be before I hit it with, I don't know, say a 400 shot of nitrous. Let's do this. Yes, this is my jet boat, but don't care about that. It doesn't matter. It has car parts in it. That Big Block Chevy is essentially a car engine. There are no marine parts on it. And we're tuning it as if we're in a car, a race car, a race truck, whatever you have at home. The theory is essentially the same. We're going to use the data that we have to make adjustments and see, can we go faster. The data is coming from this Racepak IQ3 dash, which is a brilliant piece of equipment that's been around forever. It doubles as a dash that gives us our gauge readings as well as a data logger. It's sitting in a custom built aluminum housing that Rawls Precision Machine built for this boat. In fact, Andy Rawls and his team built every piece of aluminum you see in this boat. Like from the gas pedals to the seat mounts to the motor mounts, everything that was fabricated in this boat came from Andy and his team. When this boat was originally put together, there were no gauges in this dash. There was an oil pressure gauge and a water temp gauge plumbed directly into the motor that you could see if you looked upside down and stuck your head near the hot motor while it was running. You could see those things. But as far as being a driver going down the racetrack, no, you were just a loose nut behind the wheel. You had no idea what was going on. So Andy made this mount for me because I wanted gauges, and rather than put a bunch of holes in the gas in the dash and use a bunch of analog gauges, we went digital. So now we have a Racepak IQ3 here. That is connected to all of the Racepak sensors that Joe installed. These are sitting in this aluminum box back here, and they're all down here. These are the original transducers that were in the boat that came from Mark Hanswitz, who works at Edelbrock. These sensors are now connected to the Racepak VNet network, which are all these boxes and connectors here, going to the dash. So all these transducers read all the pressures, temperatures, vacuums, all those things the engine and the jet driver are experiencing, all go through here, go to the dash. And after you make a rip, all you do to get that data is you push in up here, you get your teeny tiny little memory card, that little guy right there. You plug that in your laptop, look at the software, and boom, if you're smart enough to understand what you're looking at, you could go faster. So let's look at our software and see what we can learn. Now, when we went racing, again, we only had O2 sensors in the collectors of our headers. And it's important to note that because the collectors tend to leak. And I'll show you what I'm talking about right here. All right, so Racepak data. These are all the things we're currently monitoring, like engine vacuum in the pan, water pressure through the motor, oil pressure, fuel pressure, all those things. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up engine RPM. So this blue line is our engine RPM. This is us idling at 1600 RPM. The boat whole shots, bounces off the rem limiter, settles into 1 RPM. Ignore all these spikes. These are phantom. They're not real. Basically, the way a jet drive works is kind of like an engine dyno in that once the jet drive has a full column of water going through it, the jet drive will absorb every bit of horsepower that engine makes and stop it from accelerating. Because there's no gearbox behind it, there's no gear changes, there's no chance for the engine RPM to increase or decrease as long as the jet drive has all the water going through it. Which is why, whether I click 2 seconds into the run, we're at 6,847, or whether I click 8 seconds into the run, 6,812, the engine RPM doesn't change. So this is what a typical pass looks like in a jet boat. Doesn't matter that it's a jet boat. What we're talking about is air-fuel ratio. So I'm clicking on our left side O2 sensor and our right side. The left is in red, the right is in purple. Now, lots of waviness in here. We could smooth that out, but rather than smooth it out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an average from the beginning of the pass to the end of the pass. And right now it's showing the average for the engine RPM. We're going to go left bank. So our left bank, which is the odd side of the motor, cylinders 1, 3, 5, and 7, our average air-fuel ratio is 12.77 to 1. The minimum, the low side, 12.4, the max, 13.3. Not bad at all. The problem, though, is header collectors, like mine, come look at these, they tend to leak. So this is a multi-piece header. This merge-style collector slips on to the primary tubes. When you hit it, you can hear the vibration because it's not a tight fit. It's made to be disassembled. And so what you get, especially at idle, is air leaking in here and contaminating the exhaust gases that the O2 sensor is reading. So typically in a collector like this, at idle, it's going to read leaner than it actually is. But the chance also exists for this to read leaner even when you're wide open throttle. So check this out. At that race, we were making tuning changes to our engine based on what we were seeing here. And what we were seeing here was the left bank, 12.77, not bad. I would have left that alone, right? When we click on the right bank, 1320 was the average. The low side was 12.88. The highest it saw was 13.5. 13.5 air-fuel ratio, even on a naturally aspirated engine. I saw that and went, we need to tune this thing. So we started adjusting the carburetors. We started throwing jet at it. We started making the air bleed smaller, whatever we could do to richen this thing up. Now, we had no clocks at this race, so we didn't have a lot of data to go on. But I believed we were probably headed in the wrong direction. So when we got home, we'll close this file, we installed 8 O2 sensors into this engine, into these headers to be more specific.
Right here, we have our V-net cable coming up, our power, ground, and signal wire to turn the O2s on. Let's see, everything's wired into here. All good here. We've got some P-clamps coming, so we haven't quite wired the loose lit cables in yet, but we're done. It's ready. It works.
And now, when we start looking at our data, again, we'll bring up engine RPM so you can see this is our typical pass. Okay, there's our engine RPM. Now, not only can I look at the collectors, but I can also look at individual cylinders because we have an O2 sensor in every pipe. Now, remember the left bank was what I thought to be okay. The right bank was even leaner. When you look at the left bank, here's cylinder number 1, right? And we'll do the same thing. We'll average it from the beginning of the run to about when I lifted. When you look at just cylinder number 1, our average is 11, just over 11.5 to 1 air fuel. Pretty darn rich. On the low side, there were places during the RPM trace, during the run, where it was bottom 11. It was dead rich. And the highest air fuel ratio we saw during the run in the primary tube of cylinder number 1 was 12.6 to 1. So this thing actually needs to be leaned out, this one particular cylinder. Watch number 2. Number 2 is wild. You look at the same thing, right? Your average was 12.2. Your minimum was just under 11.5. Your peak was 13.3. We actually had a spike in here where all of a sudden this went, hey, we're going to go dead lean for a split second. My gut tells me what this is probably us running over rough water, the float level in the carb being a little too high, and when the float bounced, it probably dribbled some fuel out of the booster. Maybe, because it goes pretty rich right after it runs over this spot. But there's other cylinders. You go to number 8. I'm going to turn off these 2. Number 8 is ridiculous. It starts down here at 13.3 to 1, and it just keeps on trucking until we're over 14.3 to 1. Our average was 13.7. So having individual cylinder info really is going to allow us to tune this thing better. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the lake and we're going to address every one of these. If it needs it, we're tuning it. So cylinder number 1, we're leaning it out because it's too rich. Cylinder number 8, we're fattening it up because it's way too lean. So cylinder 8 is going to get carb jets. Cylinder number 1, we'll probably take some jet out of it. We'll go run it again. We're going to run this thing probably 2 or 3 more times and come back to you with info because, again, our goal is to take all of these when I overlay them and get them closer together. Because what you don't want is an 8. We'll take off some of these so that it doesn't look so messy. But you don't want an 8 and a 1. Cylinder 8 running over 14 to 1. Cylinder 1 running in the 11s. We don't want to put direct port nitrous on this motor with cylinders running that far apart and hit it with the same nitrous shot on every one because that's a recipe for disaster. All right, so how do we fix this in our carbureted Big Block Chevy? Well, we have the good fortune of having a tunnel ramp. And a tunnel ramp is a great intake manifold design because when you put 2 carburetors on top of it, you have a high degree of adjustability and a fair amount of precision here. If you were to look down every venturi here, it's pretty close to being right over an individual intake runner for each cylinder, which means as you adjust the carburetors bore to bore, you can adjust each cylinder here. And again, the goal is to get them to be the same. And what we're going to do is we're going to play with our main jets, which are located in the end of the metering block here. And we're going to play with our air bleeds, which are up top here in the main body of the carburetor. In particular, we're going to play with the high-speed air bleeds, which are these guys right here. The high-speed ones are the ones closest to the vent tubes. And these, if you open and close them, they influence how much pressure is at the inlet side of the main jet. So if you open up the air bleed and allow more air to go in there, you will lean out the air mixture. Not just because you put more air in there, but because it decreases the pressure on the backside of the main jet. If you squeeze down the air bleed, then you're reducing the amount of air going in there, and you are increasing the pressure on the backside of the main jet, allowing more fuel to go in there. And so, according to legendary carb tuner Steve Brule, once you get to big main jet sizes, so let's just say you had a 100 jet here in this metering block and you wanted to make a big swing in air fuel ratio, if you pull 2 jet sizes out of it, it doesn't make that big of a deal because the percentage of change is pretty small. But These air bleeds, these high-speed ones, are not big at all. They're like 0.31 thousandths in here. So when you make a small change in air bleed size, it has a bigger percentage of change overall. So we'll probably do a combination of things here, a small jet change and a small air bleed change to get where we want to go. And I think what we're gonna do for cylinder 1 is take a couple of jets out and go run it. And then if that doesn't get us where we wanna go, we'll start working with the air bleed there. On this side of the motor, the even side where 6 and 8 was dead lean, we'll probably do a combination of jet and air bleed because it needs a monster change to get us where we need to be. We're talking like 1.5 ratios. We're over 14 and we want to get to like 12.5. So that's a pretty big swing. So we'll go up in jet sizes here and we'll go down in air bleed sizes up here to get us there. So we'll do that right now and then we'll go run the boat and we'll report back with what we learned. Those are big jets. There's a big hole through there. So what we're gonna do is, let me grab my readers here. We're gonna go from a 96 to a 98 over the rear carburetor in the part of the carb that is over cylinder number 8. And then we're gonna go from a 92 to a 94 in that same carburetor, the other main jet that's over cylinder number 6. And we're gonna verify what we're doing with these pin gauges because sometimes humans make mistakes. If this is a 96 and it takes that pin gauge, but not this pin gauge, then that means this 98, if it takes that pin gauge, is going to be 2 thousandths, 3 thousandths bigger. We will flow more fuel. Okay. So that's going in the metering block over here. So this is cylinder number 8. Here's the metering block. This is the venturi for number 8 that's directly over it. We will change from a 96 to a 98 jet, and then this one will go from a 94 to a 96. And then we will go out and run the boat again. I don't think it turned any more RPM, but let's go see if the air fuels are different. Good news. We ran the boat. We made a change. I think the change did something. Let's verify. So what we're looking at here, cylinder number 8 in yellow, this is the reading we got after running the boat and putting 802 sensors in it with the existing carb tune-up. Okay, starts out down here at 13 to 1. And it climbs all the way up over 14 to 1. In blue, this is after putting bigger carb jets in cylinders 8 and number 6. So here's number 8. And 12.95, climbing up to 13.3. There's the old data from the same point of the run with our change in jetting. We've already lowered our air fuel almost 3/4 of a ratio, so that's good news. So we're on the right track. We're still lean. It still needs more work, but we're on the right track. So we're probably in an area where we could add another 2 jet sizes to this cylinder, and that should get it. If this is the beginning of the run and this is the end of the run, probably gets us where we want to be. So it's a common plenum tunnel ram. So this runner feeds 8, this one feeds 6, but this carburetor is positioned between the two of them. So even though you change a main jet here for this venturi, it will have some effect on what happens over here because it's pretty close together. So on that side, we leaned out just the one jet in the corner, but it affected the cylinder next to it. We put 4 jet sizes in this one. Let's smooth it out here a little bit. There's 6. All right, so we're gonna ignore the spikes. Basically begins the run at a high 12 and maintains it pretty well. Touches 13 a little bit. Towards the tail end of the run, it starts trending downward, 12.9. It's probably still a touch too lean, but it's better. All right, let's look at number 8. We also put 4 jets in that one. That one, we'll smooth it out here real quick, just a little bit. And that one starts the run around 12.7 and it climbs to low 13s. Then you have some spikes here. So that one could still use some more fuel. That one has a 102 jet in it now. So I'm not going to jet it up more. I think it will squeeze down the high-speed air bleed in this one. And this one, 12.9. We'll put a couple jet sizes in this one, I think. I'm trying to get these in the mid-12s. So it'd be great to bring those down a little bit.
So in 6, we are...
6, we're at a 98 jet.
Okay.
Which is big.
Yeah.
And it's...
Not compared to the 102 in the number 8 corner.
Yeah, and it's 12.9. It's basically 13 to 1.
Yeah.
It's leaner than I want it to be. So this one, probably squeeze the air bleed a little bit, or jet change, either one. This one, we're already at a 102 jet, so we'll squeeze the air bleed and see what happens on that one. Let's look at our middle cylinders. What happened to 5 and 4? So 4 begins the run at 12.7, and it ends up in 13. So it can use some work. About 5. 5 starts out at 13 and just stays there the whole time. The whole thing could use more fuel today. Wow. Interesting. So let's look at all of them together and see how far apart everything looks. Smooth that one. So 4 starts out at 12.5 and climbs to 13. 2 starts out at 13 and goes down to 12.3. Wow.
They're both trending the same way, except opposite ends.
Yeah. And what's more important, because if it was only, so let's look at this one, right? Let's turn off number 4. I don't want to run it at 13.3. And if it was only there for a split second, I'd say I wouldn't care, except this is at 13.3, essentially from 2.2 seconds to, it's 2 full seconds that it's there. Almost the same amount of time there as it spends climbing down here.
Yeah.
So interesting. See, and if it was EFI, we'd just couple clicks of the keyboard, some beep boops, and we could take care of it. This is caveman stuff, but it's super fun. Okay. Well, let's take the bowls off, take the scoop off, and try it again. Make some more changes, see what happens.
Okay, okay.
Back in the garage, looking at some data. So, RPM is in blue. We turned 68.33, which, let's see, might be a little more, maybe 10 more than last time. Let's see. There was our previous run. It's very close. Let's take averages. So, the average was 68.16 before, and on this one, 68.49. We turned a little more RPM in some really, really bad air conditions. So I think it might have liked it. This was our trouble cylinder the last time, and our average air fuel was 11.77. Now, go to today, number 1. And 12.16 was our average. We did lean it out. We did bring it up, which is good. Bottom 12, basically. It could still go leaner at the beginning of the run, but look what happens towards the end of the run. It just starts climbing at the end of the run. The longer you stay in it, the leaner it gets. And it got as lean as 13.2 to 1 air fuel. So that's something to consider. We leaned it out overall, which we wanted here because it was bottom 11s, but it also kept going leaner. All right.
I wonder why it's doing that.
Carburetors do weird things sometimes.
8 was doing that too before, wasn't it?
8 has always done that. The question is, did we make it better or worse? So cylinder number 8 from the previous run, our average was 13.3 to 1 air fuel. We put a much smaller high-speed air bleed in it and dropped it to 13.0. So it went from up here to down here. So if you look at just this part of the run, right? 13.52 versus now 12.58. So it's much happier early in the run. This is where it was trending before in the 13s. We've got it down to the mid 12s at the beginning of the run. It still climbs like it did before, though. At the end of the run, it leans out. So we have that to consider. Problem cylinder number 2. Let's go look at that. That one, and we'll turn it off, and the other one, turn it back on. Okay, so previously, problem cylinder number 2 began the run at 12.92 and then dove all the way down to 11.5 to 1, 11.4. Now, it begins the run at 12.6 and goes down to 12.0, so much happier. Doesn't get nearly as rich as it did before. So overall, I think we're in the right track. Let's just plot all of our O2s. And look at these things. They are getting closer together. There's the odd side, which is the rich side of the motor. Here's the even side, which is the lean side of the motor. Remember, we used to have one that was way the hell up here, number 8?
Almost went off top of the screen before.
Yeah, they're all closer together, which means I think we're one round of jetting and air bleeds away from being ready to spray nitrous at this thing.
Yes!
Yes. All right.
And then it won't matter what our air density is.
No. Before we go, I have a little treat for you. Here's Tony Angelo driving side chick. Yes, he's here today. We're going on a road trip, and before we leave this video, here's Tony Angelo driving my boat. I think only 3 or 4 people have ever run this boat before. Tony Angelo is the next. 1,200 horsepower carbon fiber jet boat. Tony Angelo's never driven a jet boat. He's about to do a burnout in mine. Just a burnout, something small. All right, now stop. So you don't want to run over your own rollers. So he's got his own roller right there. You can no longer see me to thumbs up. Not yet, not yet. Coming around again. So every time he makes a loop, he makes rollers, and then he's got to wait for those rollers. So the trick is to go down there and turn around and make the rollers and then idle up here versus making a U-turn here, making rollers that are going to bounce off this dock and come back out. Okay, now stop. Stop. Stop, 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 stop. Go. Okay. We have successfully completed a burnout. It was a solid one. He did chop the throttle when it was time to slow down, though. We gotta tell him not to do that again. Because right now, when you're only going 50, no big deal. If you're going 100 and you chop the throttle, that would be bad. So right now, he's rearming the CO2 system. He'll come back in. We'll give him a little feedback. Go again. What do you think, Bo? Did Tony do good? Yeah, buddy. Once again, keeping the streak alive of Tony breaks everything. Tony drove my jet boat, and on the second pass, broke part of the jet drive. Let me guess, you can't stop.
What?
Let me guess, you can't stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hit the gas before you opened the bucket, and it blew it off into the lake.
Oh. Yeah, neutral's not neutral-ing.
No, you got no more neutral.
Okay.
It's the opposite of like a 4L60 transmission. That's our, it's not that big of a deal. Just from now on, when you go to drive it, you're just always in drive.
Okay.
So I'm gonna turn you around and just look at it so we can, you know, document the fact that it's broke. But this doesn't stop you from continuing on the journey. Especially not now, because the water looks great.
Yeah, that was intense. I was on at that time.
So the first pass you made, I was like, I kind of hesitated before it went. And I think you did that maybe the first time too.
What am I doing?
You matted the gas before you flipped it in forward.
Okay.
So the bucket was closed and all that water hit the bucket and blew it off the back of the boat.
Copy that.
Let me double check. Yep, it's gone.
It still felt very fast.
It's impressive that it broke cast aluminum like that.
What did it do?
It broke, so the bucket pivots, right? And it's held on with two stainless steel pins.
Okay.
Horizontally. There's these two pins that go like this.
Yeah.
Right? And the bucket pivots on those pins. It broke the aluminum around the pins and just launched the bucket into the lake.
All right, that's my bad.
Don't worry about it.
Sorry about that.
Don't even sweat.
I think I got it to 100.
Really?
Got close.
Hell
I saw
yeah.
like 89 after I'd let way off the gas.
Hell yeah. Well, if you like it, the water looks great. Go further.
Okay.
Let me look at how much fuel we got in here. My guess is you got enough for a full pull.
Okay.
So if that was 2 or 3 seconds, hold it for 5.
Okay, that felt like an eternity. It felt like I was like, I'm gonna go to space, dude.
Well, I gotta be honest, as soon as I saw the bucket fly off, I didn't even look at you after that. So I don't know.
I was on it.
I don't know how far you went.
I think I'd hit 100.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
You have a speedo and we have data. We can tell you for sure when you get back.
I hit the button and by the time I looked, it said 89.
So right now the water's perfect. I'm gonna shove you off,
And just go.
and when you fire it, just wait a second and go ahead and hit it.
Okay.
Cause you'll be pointed straight, the steering wheel's straight, the water looks great.
I'm with it. I'm with it.
When I yell it, you go ahead and start it and just go for it.
Bro, it's like 85 here. It's nice and warm, isn't it?
On the bright side, when you break the 1200 horsepower jet boat at this lake and you have to swim it back to shore, the water's warm. So you got that going for you. It's just nice.
I got her.
You're doing great, Tony.
Woo!
I'll meet you at the trailer.
Ah!
Okay, here's one last point about this whole deal. And it was the whole reason we did this test of putting 8 O2 sensors in there. Left and right, this is in the collector, the single O2 sensor, right? I'm just gonna pick a point in the run. The collector is reading left side, right? Left side is the odd side of the motor, 1357. That says it's 13.34 to 1, right? But if you come over here, this is my left side, my odd cylinders. This is an average of all the primary tubes, 13.0. It's not nearly as lean as the collector says it is. You go to the right side, it's even worse. 13.6 in the primary tubes, 12.91. We've been tuning off of this, and these collectors are leaking, and we've been tuning off this at the track going, oh my God, the motor's lean. We need to put way more jet in this thing. The reality is we don't. If you look at the primary tubes where there are no leaks, cylinder number 1 is actually a little rich. At this point in the run, 11.64 to 1. But the other cylinders, 12.2, 12.7, 12.5, 12.7, 12.9, 12.4. Essentially, we have 2 problem cylinders. Cylinder 8 is lean. Cylinder 1 is rich. We get those dialed in, we're ready for nitrous. But more importantly, from now on, we're just going to look at either the average or the individual primary tubes, not the collectors. And yeah, we're ready for nitrous.